Hey guys, welcome to 10-Minute English with May. And today we're going to talk about another dependent clause, which is our noun clause. So remember one thing, a clause has subject and verb, but our noun clause, adjective clause, and adverbial clause, they are not sentences, so they cannot stand alone. They need to be paired with an independent clause to become a complete sentence. So what does a noun clause do? So like a noun or a pronoun, which is our level 1, or like our level 2 phrase, which is a gerund phrase or sometimes an infinitive phrase functioning as noun, a noun clause is usually used as the subject or the object of the sentence. All right. So subject comes before the verb, like in the first example. What the newspaper reported was incorrect. So you can see here, since it is a clause, the newspaper is the subject, reported is the verb, and it starts with the question word what. So we call this a question noun clause. So do you see how the whole noun clause is functioning as the subject? So that is why it is directly followed by a verb. So whenever you see two verbs consecutively, you should know that, oh, probably there is a dependent noun clause functioning as subject. And of course, a noun clause can function as an object. So it could be the object of a transitive verb, or sometimes the object of the preposition. So in the second example, you can see it is the object of the verb, right? People often use it like this. So Bob said that he didn't study for the quiz. I stated that people are born equal. Okay. And since it starts with the word that, we call this the that clause as well. And of course, a noun clause can also follow certain adjectives, like emotional adjectives, in which case the noun clause would be called an adjective complement, but we will talk more about it later on. Or it can be an appositive, in which case it would be an adjective function because it talks about the noun before. All right, and if you remember previously, we talked about the difference between a that adjective clause and a that noun clause being in positive. All right, so in this case, who first challenged the belief that the world was flat? This is again a that noun clause talking about belief. All right. So if we take a look here, there are 4 types of noun clauses, 3 main types, of course. So I'm going to highlight the 3 main ones. The that clause, which starts with that. The question noun clause, which starts with the WH words and how. And our if or whether clauses. All right, so let's take a look at these 3 first. So the example sentence, the Russian president and his wife told the press something, right? So this is the thing that they told. So this is the direct object. So that they were enjoying their visit, all right, object of the sentence. And if we look at the question noun clause, originally it comes from a question. So for example, who are you? That is a question. And now I'm going to change it into a statement. Tell me who you are. So of course, since we're changing it into a statement, we need to make sure that it goes from verb subject to subject verb. So again, we'll talk more about this in the following few weeks. If we take a look at the example sentence, do you know who the interpreter for the Russian leader was? So we can cross out the prepositional phrase for the Russian leader, right? Subject is the interpreter and verb is was. And since it is a question, do you know? So we keep the question mark. If it is a statement, we need to change it to a period instead. So, of course, what is the original question? Who was the interpreter? Right? I should capitalize. Okay, so let's do the same thing. The reporter asked which companies plan to do business in Russia. Okay, so this is a which is a question word, and companies planned. And do you see how in this case, the reporter asked, it is a statement, so they have changed it to a period. Okay, now, what is the difference between a question clause and the if or whether clause? So if or whether clause comes from yes or no question. For example, if I ask you, do you like apples? It's either yes, I do, or no, I don't. Now I'm going to change it to a statement. Tell me if you like apples, right? Period. So again, we're changing it from question to statement. So verb subject to subject verb. And I have to make sure if it's not a question itself, I have to change the punctuation to a period. Okay, let's look at the examples provided here. The question is whether or not is optional. US and European companies understand the Russian business environment. So originally it was yes or no question. Do US and Euro companies understand the Russian business environment? Sorry, I typed biz. Okay. And the second example, no one knows if the experiment will succeed or not. Again, or not is optional. So originally the yes or no question was, will the experiment succeed? Okay, so these are the three main types. So what about our subjunctive noun clauses? So subjunctive noun clauses follow certain verbs and adjectives that indicate either urgency, advisability, like making suggestions, proposals, necessity, requirement, something that's mandatory, and desirability, something you want. Okay, so in this case, the President of the United States suggested, so that is advisability, that Russia open its doors to US business. So do you see how in this case, the noun clause, even though the subject is Russia, which is singular, the verb open and not opens stays in base form. So the verb is in base form. That is what we call subjunctive. And there is also another type of past tense subjunctive mood we will talk about later when we discuss the 4 types of conditionals. Okay, so that is a brief introduction to our noun clauses. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.